semifinals. This is Toffee's, joined by Cameron Davis and our speed demon himself, Skyline, who will be our eye looking at the sky as we go into the remake. Some of you may remember the drop from the last one was actually very good for Totality this time around. We'll see if it plays out the same way. Cameron, do you expect anybody to change things up because of the remake, or do you think it all pretty much stay the same?
Not necessarily. No one got punished for anything off the very beginning, so no adjustment really being made outside of basically seeing what other teams are doing to adjust. But I think Totality was the only one that I noticed adjust, so I can't imagine there'd be any reason for them to swap it up. I think we're going to get pretty much the same spawns right now. That being said, Tempo Storm are changing things up. They sent a couple people into Sosnovka Island.
Oh, so they have.
I don't know if this is to steal cars and then
I think the play here is to get cars not in the cluster. So when you jet that drop range, it's a tough one, right? There's like 2 spawns sort of north of the gas station. There's a couple by the bridge edge. There's one sort of down by that shack coming out of red houses, but everyone's going for them. So you do this, you take the risk, you sort of split someone off. Worst case scenario, they take a boat around to your loot holes. But you have a chance you got to make sure you have cars. Right now, cars are insanely important. The problem is if they try to cross that bridge, now I don't think they will because Dre has identified that there's a problem here. By the way, Maluk in some serious trouble as Kickstart got himself a gun and comes running out. Maluk is going to be sacrificed to PLAYERUNKNOWN to start this match. Tempo off to a rough go because Dre also isolated. He's caught at the lighthouse, can't get to his teammates, and if his teammates drive through here, all of the guys from Space Station have just basically looted next to the bridge. So they are going to all be armed, dangerous, and ready to blow BenQ out of that car when they come on by.
He got a grenade, though, so that's something.
Big drop.
But no, you're right. It is an interesting mix-up for Tempo. I like the idea behind it, but they just got incredibly unlucky, I suppose, with those car spawns, as well as, even though they tried to avoid all of that action between Wildcard and Space Station, they still ended up losing a player to one of them.
They're committed to staying on the island now. They drove back to the compound. Dre let them know what's going on. He's going to make the long, uncomfortable, terrible, frustrating Phelps level swim across the river to join them. At least they have some circle time to trash loot. But Tempo Storm with 3 and Trash not going to be very happy. Totality did go to the same spot, but they did not get the same circle. That said, they do have the advantage from moving in gradually if they want to. The center of the circle wide open because the guys from Tempo aren't there. Totality went north this time around. That means nobody is established in that entire west side.
Yeah. Unfortunately for us, though, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but it's not really going to be terribly impactful in this first circle or even second, I can imagine, unless it swings far west on the second one. And then we're going to get a mad dash over to that swamp area.
Perhaps.
But for now, yeah?
I will say, I predict a lot of teams are going to be expecting people to be there. So what I think we'll probably see is the east side of the circle is going to stack up relatively quickly. And that sort of quarter section is probably going to have 1 or 2 teams in it. And what that does mean is when the next circle establishes after that, transitions could get sketchy coming out of sort of that Rozhok down to East Pachinki location, sort of Potato Mountain, because there's not a lot of spots to grab there. You either grab Pachinki houses, you grab this whole farm spread area, or you stay north of the Potato. Because Potato Mountain sort of isn't a spot. There's like 1 spot, maybe a crater or 2 up there that's worth holding, but that's about it.
But that being said, a lot of the teams on the eastern side wouldn't have necessarily crossed over to the western side anyway, because going through center is always a risk, because the more you drive, the more likely you are to run past a squad that is already there hanging out, which just puts you into more danger. But for the players coming from Georgopol and then Primorsk, it's true that I agree actually that they could imagine that there are more squads there than there actually are, but I don't think it's going to thin it out too terribly more than usual. A nice M24 flying down from the sky, delivered to basically no one, but it's a nice gun anyway.
Oh, it'll be picked up eventually. I mean, it's mid-circle. So
eventually.
That'll be a nice grab once the circle starts to close up. Let's see. We've got the guys in the Rozhok with the gentleman's agreement, not doing too much, north and south. Georgopol under no duress whatsoever. Sosnovka Island has 3 teams on it, but none in danger of conflicting with each other. Got the old Milta spread. United pretty happy with their loot locations. Not a lot of potential conflict. That plane was centralized enough that as long as you survived the car drop, you aren't in serious trouble. Now, VTV, is he with his partners there?
No.
The rest of Set to Destroy, where's the rest of Set to Destroy?
Power.
Okay. So VTV south of Potato. The rest of his team's all the way over there. So it looks like he'll just hold that. It's a good spot for the rest of his team to move to. So kind of a nice. I don't know if did they early rotate that on purpose? Did you happen to notice, or did he just drop there? Okay.
He came out there really early as a scout.
I like it. I like that. Smart. And though his team will help loot for him, he's probably got the base items that he wants, and it's really smooth a way to play this out. Now BenQ is going to the boat. I saw splashes off the top of the boat, but I think that was just a graphical water glitch. Okay. I was like, there's no possible way they could be watching this right now.
I mean, Vexel has a potential angle.
Right. I don't know if Vexel's in God mode right now, but he wasn't. So BenQ will be able to grab that boat and just move around, try and find a position for him and his team. VTV, like we said, in a good spot. Other teams should be sending scouts out here relatively quickly. And as we say that, we'll jump over to Teflon to see if he can find himself a little bit of a home here east of Pachinki. These houses pretty popular when it comes to this hold.
Yeah, I dig them. We were actually talking about them yesterday, or not yesterday, earlier this week, you and I together, and it was like Teflon made the decision that you were actually positing over which of these two halves you'd take, and he's going to go for these barn houses. Definitely, either of them are good decisions either way, which we've been over, but it's a good spot. It's pretty much dead center, or as dead center as you can hope to be, considering where this circle is. It has a little bit of Sosnovka Island inside. That's a good spot to grab for his team to come up right behind him.
It's a good spot. I'll probably loot barn and then maybe move to red houses. Looting the barn is just so tasty and so fast to get your hands on. That said, Pachinki going to be comfortably in the middle. That's the upside of having Pachinki, is you almost always get to play inside the first circle. That's an absolutely rare occasion. Frolicker rotating down to the rest of his team. Cloud9 looking to have a good match here. They need it. They've had a rough go of things here in the finals. Feels like they're just sort of off their pace. They're not the Cloud9 that I'm used to seeing.
Yeah, not at all. I don't know if that's because of the roster moves that they've had recently. A couple of their players have stepped down to move to a different game entirely. And so that's probably put a lot of upset on how their whole system works. But you're absolutely right. It just seems to be completely off their game. And at this point, I think there's really not much more that they can do, that they can move on the leaderboard. They can climb up a couple of spots if they start to really turn it up. But they're sitting dead at last, and I guess really it's just like them using this time to figure out how to fix the system.
When you lose half your team from the premiere so they can join the veneer battle royale, it's got to be a little bit frustrating, and something that they're going to have to deal with as a team and get adjusted as we start to move forward into the summer LAN season. We're going to see some big tournaments coming up, the restart of Auzom and a few others. So I definitely hope that they can get their feet back under them and bounce back from this very quickly, because obviously they're a team that's been around for a very long time here in the PUBG competitive scene.
Yeah, one of the first.
All right, so enough reminiscing about Cloud9 that was and looking forward to the future that will be. I want to see them play this exceptionally well. Right now they're running a 2-2 split. They've got the houses where Moody is locked in. I like those little barn houses. And they've got the crater south of Pachinki. Frolicker and Solid up there. That's actually a really clean position that you can get a lot of kills. People don't want to drive past the red houses south of that. So a lot of players will utilize the hill north for transition. Oh, hold on a second. Nova going right past the guys from Tempo. Who would have expected them to be there? That's the benefit of their sort of trash looting situation here, is they were like, there's no way someone will be in this house right now. Who's trash looting after the first circle? And what? Dre and Zampa say, we are. Thank you for the loot. And the rest of Nova has to just zoom on by.
Yeah, such good shots by Zampa, constantly reminding us how he's one of the best fraggers in the North American region. You saw just last game him almost take that 1v3. Definitely a very strong performer. Hopefully the rest of Tempo Storm not in exactly the same situation as Cloud9. I will say that they are playing a little bit below what we expect them, but
it was a good performance, but almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yeah.
Especially in this situation. So he did almost eliminate totality. At the end of the day, if they all come back up, then what have you really accomplished other than taking away a couple of resources? Speaking of, nerf me please, taking fire from the bridge. The guys from the God Squad literally spread out in a firing line on the bridge, and Nova has to turn back around to drive past the scene of the crime where he just lost 2 of his teammates. Zampa and Dre hear him coming. Look like they may try to take a couple of pot shots as well. Now, where does Nerf go? If he comes ashore at the housing, he runs into Ben Q, even more trouble with Tempo Storm. And if he turns hard here, he goes into Moody.
Yeah, I don't know. This is really brutal for him. Luckily for him, he is still inside the circle, so he can just find a hidey hole for himself. It looks like he's aiming towards the beach, and that's going to be some potentially open shots for anyone looking at this direction. Oh yeah, actually someone is shooting out from the coastal farm area onto him. Quite long range. Ben Q5 is going to take those shots. Don't land just yet, but it still puts pressure on him and forces him and his teammate to bank there. Just below Moody, though, like you said, if they're using the rock face, if they're using that hill to climb up, they could spot him out and not directly run into him. But it's going to be a rough transition after that because they don't have a car.
Ooh, that is a cool guy. That's a good one. He's going to be very happy when he rolls up to this bad boy. Ghillie suit, adrenaline. Got a whole bunch of fun things in here. So that's going to be Teflon grabbing that, suiting up, and probably heading back to his partners over there at the barn grid. They're going to have 2 in the barn and 2 in the reds. Not a bad position here in East Pachinki. The rest of the map starting to collapse. We saw Rift actually knocked. I believe United was able to spray him down on the attempted transition. Or actually could have been Render. So either of the two. He's crawling away from Render. So my guess is Render must have gotten that initial knock, and they will finish him with a shot in the bum.
Yeah, got knocked. No real saving for him. Thankfully, his team didn't, I guess, try and make a silly run onto...
He got gumped.
I don't know where his team is. Nonetheless, first circle is closing right now. We're going to see where the second circle goes. A lot of teams quite central. Not many people wanted to play the far edge so early in the game. This circle is actually not terrible. It's not that much of a hard shift, but it is still a swing towards the southwest, and that puts about 6 teams outside it.
So right now, the guys, okay, they're going to leave. I was going to say they could potentially get some kills. I know some rotations are going to be coming past here in the East Pachinki area. No one drives through Pachinki Fields, but it looks like everyone's just going to go for a relocation. Space Station Gaming is in an okay spot to get some pickoffs on the top of the hill. The guys from God Squad are actually probably pretty happy. They were worried about how to make their transition, and now they're in a pretty okay spot. Nerf Me Please up on the hill is going to open fire on VTV. He'll just keep on going as he drives around. Mr. Blown Apart claims the barn house at the same time that Bliss thinks he wants to as well. VTV keeps going. Bliss will and be tailed by Shutru as they all head down towards this hill. Moody and C9's got the red complex. And this is great. This is exactly what Space Station wanted. They wanted to try to catch some people. It's sort of the sandwich between their 2 groups. They need to get some folks cut out of cars here, and they're able to do that. They send him over the edge, so that'll actually pull him completely out of the fight. There's not really a transition for him to come back into this. That, unfortunately, though, Set to Destroy got both of their players into the compound. D-Master pushing very, very hard. They want to try to lock them out here, Space Station Gaming, and get some free kills. So she's going to go down. VTV and Fignaldo alive. Never mind, Fignaldo goes down as well, leading VTV to defend against the onslaught that's coming at him.
The rest of Team Gates did go down and join the water, but VTV is getting surrounded. He has a tiny little corner of a building to try and defend from. But I think he's like trying to pick up his bike and get on a retreat. He's having to U-turn that thing around, and the Space Station could be close enough to punish him for it. Couple of shots, he is down to about 10 health, and he has his sights aimed towards the water, but it's not gonna get there.
Headshot. Well done. So death. VTV goes down, and immediately they float back out to the hilltop. But United's coming in, so not much rest for the guys from Space Station Gaming as they get to turn around and start to spray right away. Yimmer and Vegas heading straight down the pocket, right in the middle. Quinn opens fire, Vexel as well. Yimmer hits the E-brake and twists around, heading towards the ridge line. They're going to go over there and try to park the cars and figure out what their next play is, but they are separated from the rest of their team. That's going to be the knock all the way over there. Riem, how do you get him up? They're going to have to try to drive some cars in for cover, maybe, if they want to go for the save.
Yeah, you just don't go for the save. Vegas and Jimmer, it's a defendable spot that they're in right now, but rotations out of it are going to be really, really rough now or later. It doesn't matter, but Riem, he's basically unsaved at this point because not only is there Space Station to their west, Gates right below Riem, but also a couple members of Cloud9 to the north as well. So if they move, they're going to have multiple angles of fire directly onto their position.
All right, lots of fire coming out from the remainder of Tempo Storm. They see E United. They heard them screech to a halt. and they're going to make them really feel frustrated. There's not a lot of cover for E United since they're getting shot from both sides, so we'll sort of keep an eye on them and see if they ultimately get caught out, as Yimmer's taking even more fire. Vexel shooting at them as well. We got Swimmers in the form of Team Gates trying to make their way over to the bridge. Northern Transitions have, for the most part, settled themselves down. 15 teams were made. Geist actually playing in a shack just in case his team gets wiped out. What else is interesting here? Totality inside of the barn houses south of Pachinki. They are going to eventually have to go up against some opponents unless the circle really, really works in their favor. Shoot to kill here, trying to figure out where do I park my bike and where do I settle until the next circle closes.
A lot of these squads have their eyes on south. We just earlier saw all those people try and crash in the same group of buildings. Not many people, everyone else is just trying to avoid Pachinki because those open fields are going to be brutal for anyone trying to hold it. But that also means that shoot to kill, they're having to rotate around it. They're leaving Pachinki, they're leaving their loot spot, and now open shots from Totality onto them is going to put some pressure. Protege could help from the west side of Totality, but he also may just want to hold his spot and try and allow his...
Richie getting pushed by Tempo. They're moving straight at him. Zampa's out in front, has no idea that Richie's there. Richie is looking the wrong direction, though. Zampa now hears him moving. Richie takes a shot to the face, has to run backwards, jumps down to the low ground, and is going to just knock himself as he tries to escape. So the escape is not to be, and he'll just crawl under the rocks. That's what happens when you try to catch a crab at the beach.
I guess. I don't know what happened. He had no clue that Tempo Storm was there, so just not checking all of his angles, I suppose. Or perhaps he was looking for a way to jump down before they pushed onto him. I really don't know how that happened. Nerf Me Please is in a position potentially to get the res, but it's going to have to be quick, though, because they all have to move because the circle has swung onto the western fields.
Cloud9 on rotation through the fields. Gonna take fire from everybody in just a few seconds here. Let's see if they can survive the hard rotation. Moody headed right out to the middle. Looks like he's gonna use this shack. Collapses in. Caden was thinking the same thing. Turns and goes to the other. Not the favorite shack in the world when it can be destroyed. Caden's gonna come to a stop and run in. Takes a little bit. Moody doesn't even take the shot there. And so they'll have a bit of a standoff from shack to shack, right in the middle of a giant kill zone. So circle up the cars, make a wagon fort, if you will, because Wildcard, Envious, everyone else is putting in a ton of work. Zark, by the way, is knocked. God Squad, I think, caused some trouble with them up there on top of the hill, but he's getting picked up. Vexel coming shooting in from the outside. Lots of spray and pray coming from teams across this entire circle. Totality, Purdy has made the long circle and found himself a shack.
The best spot in this circle actually is on the northwestern side, on top of this hill that Purdy isn't too far southern of. But the way that the circle has positioned itself and also the loot drop spots of all these teams means that no one is in that area, and no one is exactly in a good area to get over to it directly. You do see Totality with a large swing over the north, so they could actually pick it up by just coming past. Oh, looks like couple members are getting punished here from Duel. Getting peppered down from a couple of different angles. That's a far shot from the northeast that is coming into on their position. And Pentel actually does get finished off by a shot.
It was a nice shot from Caden, I believe, to get that finish right there. As the check shooter is going to push up onto Cloud9, tosses out the nade. Not quite the range he was looking for, but they know that they are under serious assault. We'll jump to Elusive's perspective here as he felt them coming in his direction. Check shooter, though, settled back into the shack without too much aggression. He was trying to get that range shot to see if he could make the nade go the distance. It's not going to quite work out. I like the little spread that we're seeing from Team Envious. God Squad in the gas station, not a lot of options. They don't want to push in to Duel until they absolutely have to, so they'll lock that spot down. United with the crawl around the outside, but we'll go to the north side of the circle where Adam Dids from Shoot to Kill is attempting to live up to the team name against Mr. Blown Apart, who just settled into his new home, a tiny little shack at the edge of the circle.
It's something. And if they have the vehicles coming up, he got the rest of his teammates coming up behind him, so they can make something out of it and keep those vehicles safe as well for the next rotation, because it's getting to the late part of the game, but it's still a time where the circles are large enough that you want to have those vehicles, and especially if it stays on this field, you want those vehicles to create a car for it. I really like Cloud9's position, just going off that note. The one struggle will be for them is if the circle does move harshly off of them, because utilizing those cars to make a fort, investing in that means that you do lose them and the ability to travel safely in them.
Speaking of traveling safely, Nova's final 2 members inside the 3-seater bike heading right up the hill south of Pachinki, trying to find a place to call home. They actually found a decent little ridgeline they should be able to use to their benefit here, but FlyQ heard the bike and he immediately starts to push rotation. Nova zooms away. I don't know if their spidey sense started tingling, but they decided it was not a safe place to be. Problem is, out here is not much better. Everything in the mid area is completely occupied. They're going to drive in. They get the circle, but they're going to have to blow past a whole lot of teams looking to hurt them real bad. They're going to crash the compound maybe as they drive right in. No regrets. They park the car by the broken wall. We'll take a couple of shots in their direction, probably from tempo, but they can't get any off, and it's just going to be into the building. So the crash worked out. No one was holding red houses. Pretty rarely you have somebody sitting in that house to hold it when you've got this compound. Question is, will the nades cause enough trouble? Nope.
Doesn't seem to be the case.
So Nova smartly.
This is a very nice compound that Wildcard have, but it's so big, and consider there are no other compounds around it, it's not uncommon to see it shared with multiple teams, especially utilizing that western side with the warehouse. No one is holding that from Wildcard right now, but many rotations right now. FlyQuest now up to that, running past Cloud9 as well.
Easy,
and that's Lost getting taken down. Something also, I think it's just blue left for FlyQuest, and now trying to go into the same building, or is he into the air? He does land, trying to fight back, but Nova swings out and takes him out. So that's FlyQuest out in 15.
Yeah, FlyQuest eliminated I mean, what could you do? There was nowhere left to go. They drove past one of the few shacks that they could, and they got taken down. 13 teams now remain as the God Squad's going to have to push out of their spot. We jump to E United. Vegas peeking in behind the God Squad with a little bit of a gatekeeper role. He does actually get the knock on Drasso, which may clear them to try and move forward here soon. Going to keep those peaks going, though, and see if they can't. There's the cover point, so Yimmer will push in immediately once the knock happens. Now he can hold the shack and bring Vegas in a leapfrog, so not bad play.
Nice nade to finish off Drasso. That's only going to be 3 alive, and so Pistola time, he's not going to be able to get that revive. He's just going to get in his vehicle and drive and meet up with the rest of his teammates, but he's taking fire from multiple angles, has to drop out of the vehicle because it's gotten too low for comfort. But they do still have this shack, and he's actually dropped himself in a nice position to continue to gatekeep E United out of this zone.
Vegas is coming in from behind, has peeked as he ran away from the car. Might be able to take a couple of shots here as they try to extract themselves. They're caught between 2 teams now. E United and pushing from the north is Duel, coming down to try and ruin the day of God Squad, who found themselves a tiny shack but not a lot of cover. Interesting choice. The guys here playing very aggressively, Duel wanting to hold this hilltop as much as they can, but now they're getting slammed from the other side as Space Station Gaming comes up over the crest with 4 men strong, looking to hold this for themselves. They'll see the peak because they heard the shots. K-Mine bouncing up and down. D-Master looking to put a bullet through his K-Mine, and he ends up getting him tagged right in the back of the head. Not enough for the kill, but a follow-up will come from his partner. So that'll be 1 down. Snark hiding in the bushes, hoping maybe they'll overlook and run on by. Vexel on the hunt just over the way. Does Narc take this shot, or does he stay quiet and stealthy? The feet are all over the place. It's got to be terrifying.
Yeah, he's in a really tricky spot at this point. Only hope he has is that for somehow Space Station get distracted by something else, and E United may just be the trick, but there's no way they're going to be pushing off of that hill, at least for E United. So at this point, it's really just time to pray. Look in the north now, though. It is going to be shoot to kill, having to push into totality. All they have is a shack, and it's just 2 of them here to defend and 4 from shoot to kill. But they do have the blue pressing on their back. Andy is running up, has a tree for cover, going to continue to spot through these windows to see if anyone's going to peek out on him. Tossing out a smoke, I believe that is. No, it's a frag grenade. Put some pressure on totality. One of them runs out. Doesn't hit the angle. Adam Dids lands the shot, landed the nade as well.
Yeah, he did. That was epic. There's some serious nade shots going on right now. Tony V gonna rise up and try to defend against a massive push. Turns his back and is plastered onto the grass. That said, I believe we still lost 2 members of Shoot to Kill in that exchange. So they're gonna have to push in, and I don't know if they have time to go try to get their partners up. Padcaps taking fire from the guys on Team Gates as they rotate in towards that same location. A lot of people are populating the top of the hill. Worth noting that our solo was caught. No, Zark got K-mined up. Nice little sneak play there, Zark.
Good job. Staying as 2, able to separate themselves from Space Station. Looks like E United was a distraction enough. Right now, it's actually more members of Totality getting caught out. This time by Render Esports. Ben Long does get the drop onto Smithy. There's still 1 remaining member of Totality far to the north. But outside of that player, Render now have easy path. I say easy. It's a clean, direct path into the zone, but there's no cover up until they get into that compound already held by multiple teams.
So they will keep that push going as they slide in as fast as they can. Cloud9 still on the check they took earlier, going to be pretty happy right there. Check shooter in his. We've got, what else we got going on? Everybody else, I'm a little worried about 13. They've lost their hill for the most part. They can try to hold it a little bit longer, but the next circle almost certainly won't be given to them. They've got 2 teams pushing in behind, as well as 2 teams sitting aside of the compound ahead of them. So they've got a lot of fights to make it into the chicken dinner position, and I'm not sure that that's going to be able to happen, especially when you take a headshot from Cat Caps right out of the gate.
Dink. That's a good start to this. However, they are caught between 2 squads, Pat Caps and Little Prodigy, only 2 remaining for God Squad, I believe, and they are running away from Space Station, using that down as a moment to push into the zone, but they are now running into Team Gates, another group of 4. Team Gates may not be aware of their existence. I think Pat Cap's prone down because he heard them moving down and they're moving around just above this ridge.
Pat Cap's going with the sneaky snake perspective. Up and over, and Prodigy not so much, comes running in and slaps himself down on the earth. They're going to take damage from BK. Biz on the off angle. Pat Caps immediately melted down. Little Prodigy has to run back downhill and take cover, but it looks like Biz is going to push him. He's got cover from the guys up above, so this should be a relatively easy extermination for them unless Smurf gets involved.
Yeah, they want to get into this.
Wait a minute.
Does a little bit of work, takes that one, but he's watching the wrong angle. Thinks they're all going to be coming from that side when it's rather from the north. Swings over to the east side. Blue overtakes him. Going to be taking some chunk damage for this right now. And Team Gates are not pushing onto him because they know that he's eating blue at this point. They can just wait for him to push into them. But no matter what happens to the outcome, whoever wins down here, as likely as it is Team Gates, is going to be in a world of hurt because Wildcard have good angles onto them just to the north. And unless there's some difficult far swing, which there is not, Wildcard are going to be staying strong and staying pretty in that compound.
Not too bad. Well, that said, though, it's far enough south that they can continue to hold the mountain. A little bit of lock it out. Prodigy is just going to suffer the blue damage. He actually hurt them by taking away one of their teammates, so good on him, I suppose, as he's down to his last first aid, going to use it, and then either have to sprint up the hill, and that should be the end of him, as the guys from Gates will essentially be playing Gates keeper as he comes up over the top. Easy one shot.
Yeah, I was hoping there was maybe a slight deflate that he can use, but no, just barely. Gates had the angle on him, and now they took him out. They know that they have control of this southern side. They can push up marginally, not too far, hopefully, but then stay safe for now because they don't want to overextend. They don't want to peek into that compound. Cloud9, though, they've been able to stay 4 alive this late into the game, and this is definitely a big increase of performance, or at least of points that they've gotten so far. But the question is, how are they going to get out of this? They do still have a couple of vehicles. They've only lost 1. Well, I don't know how damaged all the other ones are. One of them looks a little...
So they have a decent approach ridge line if they can eliminate the threat of Envious, and that's the problem. Right now, Envious is in a good spot to cause them a lot of damage. As you see, Elusive automatically takes some shots, but if they can get them out of there, they can start to sort of move up that ridge line and make less of a hard push into the circle. It's not optimal, but it's functional. That I don't know if it's going to work though, because Envious has no interest in letting them do that. Already Solid is down. Lush is going to just sort of play the heel. He's sliding in quietly behind them, rushing the circle now because he's running low on meds. Going to go ahead and sneak in, sees them coming, opens with the spray, knows he's going down, but takes a couple of tries to take some kills with him. He thinks he'll get the res though. You get one.
I got one.
So Lush gets a kill out of that, and Cloud9's got to be frustrated because not only do they have to figure out how to deal with Envious, but they just lost someone to a blue runner, and blue runners are just a tough thing to deal with.
Yeah, Moody got dropped a second time as well, so they got to commit to the revive on that before they go in. In fact, Solid's already on the run, not even waiting for his teammates. Has a small ridge to hide behind. Moody, not so lucky. Moody drops a second time. Elusive tries to hop into a vehicle. That's going to be open shots and actually gets taken out by Caden.
Caden, who's now a blue man, as he is going to start to take some damage here. Moody advancing, but the blue is continuously chasing them. Not going to be able to get the res off. Solid going to grab a little bit of loot off of his partner, some heals maybe, to last a little bit longer, and then takes a run straight at Envy. Caden inside, going to go ahead and take a couple more shots and run another first aid kit. Looks like he's committing to the blue death as Solid ultimately goes down, leaving 6 people left in the match. Caden gets his team to 6th place.
It's actually Space Station that took out Cloud9 at the very end. They swung over the north side to try and punish any runners from that field. And now they're swinging back in, shortly going to be running across the 2 remaining players from Gates, who are aware of their push. They're looking in their direction and proning down. It could be a quick surprise for Space Station, but a 4 versus 2 still favors them.
It's CeeLo in the green as he waits for the guys from Space Station Gaming to come up over the crest. He knows they probably won't be peeking him because they've got a good position in the circle, but what do you do if you're him? He's not in there, so you can keep low and slow around the outside, or you can just try to pop up and make a run. Meanwhile, inside of the compound, the other 3 teams are sharing an epic amount of real estate, and I'll tell you what, the guys from Wildcard Gaming, I'm not sure how excited they are to be split between these 2 houses right now. It's good, but it's also one of those things like when these teams start pushing, if you're putting 2v4 versus another 2v4, it really makes it tough for you to hold your ground.
Oftentimes you've seen people in those buildings get punished by a second team in where Render are right now behind this warehouse. They can actually easily get up to that barracks house. The sightlines aren't available for those players from Wildcard. Looking over here, I think Space Station, do they know that there's that Team Gates are down here? I don't know if they spotted anyone out. It could just be, for safety.
Well, they know
that the case.
They know there was a lot of gunfighting down here not too long ago, right? Remember, we saw Team Gates get into that battle with everyone pushing uphill from God Squad. So D-Master and Smurf know something's up. And they also haven't heard additional gunfire. Really, I think like a running battle from this direction going towards the compound. So they know they've got to be somewhere in this area, and they're watching it very, very carefully. The blue is closing. Smurf is going to run right along the edge of it so they can't get flanked. CeeLo is going to go down in the blue. Moss, the last remaining member, stays just ahead of it, but his tree not going to give him much as the circle continues to close in. There you go, though. Here's a side push coming up right now. Bin Long, instead of holding the warehouse, is slipped out to the other side. Mossy may see him and look for a chance to get a free kill, or he could just crawl in here and try to go a little bit deeper by hoping the 4 teams will eliminate each other. But Mossy can probably see Bin Long. Yep, right now. They'll pop up and go for the shots. Bin Long sprays it back. What? Hot fire. Bin Long does get the knock, but he goes down. Meanwhile, the rest of his team, Render, has snuck up to the very edge of the compound, held by Wildcard. But that was a push from Space Station. They heard the shots, and they jumped in there to get that final kill on Bin Long, who was maybe, I think it was 10 to 20 HP.
Yeah, I actually really like that move by Bin Long. Unfortunate that they got third-partied and marginally punished for it, but nonetheless, his position did allow those 2 other players to get up next to this compound. And this only puts the pressure even more onto Wildcard because as you can see, Tumai looking actually to the north. They're split focus between 2 separate compounds. And now Render, looks like they're pushing this building against the lone holder of Wildcard.
Wildcard peeking through that window, waiting for his chance to move here on 12. Oh, man. Nova just in a really tough situation because there's no good way out. I think the back window, they can try to jump out without taking damage, but that's even a little bit sketchy. They'll want to do that late if it's at all possible, knowing that the Wildcard guys in the house opposite them will probably have to move earlier in the form of pride because I think they know that there's at least one guy in the big White House.
Space Station are a little bit of a struggle of their own because they have a nice position overlooking everyone leaving the compound, but they're not in the circle themselves, and it's going to have to be a run down this open hill, tossing out a couple of smokes, and like last game, they can use that crate as a tiny piece of cover, but it's still not going to be much. They just have to hope that these squads thin themselves out enough for the late game fight.
They also have the benefit of they have a hill behind them, so they can utilize smokes for the push in here without overexposing themselves because of the blue line. So as long as they get in relatively quickly and can bury themselves, they actually have an okay strategic push position, whereas everyone else will have blue behind them as they try to come out of these smoke waves. So that is something to keep in mind as that breaks down. Nova going to slide forward as they go around the right side of the house instead of the obvious push out to the left side, looking to catch the people off in transition.
Blue sneaking in slowly but surely. And Render were able to take that building from Wildcard, but they're going to have to leave it before it's too long, and Blown Apart does get taken out from some nice shots. Nerf Be Pleased was able to get up to this building as well, trying to peek around, but he's just now overtaken by the blue. I think they may have a small corner, but definitely spotted, has to prone down. Pride just on the other side of that door. Can't spot anything through that window, but Richie may actually push the grenade back. That's smoke, don't worry about it. That's actually a flash, I lied. But Nerf Be Pleased does crawl around the side. This could actually be a pretty good position to kind of gatekeep, but then here comes Smurf. Space Station able to make it down to those containers. A nice spot to then take out anyone. They were able to take out Render, and now it's just Wildcard and Nova. Please taken out. D-Master's shots into the window.
Bold play by D-Master being so far forward here for Space Station Gaming. Tries to go for the spray, peek in the windows. Goes for the side shot, can't get it. Pride gets the knock on him. He's just going to crawl forward. Not much his team can do to push that res right now, especially because they're resing their own partner. Vexel was taken out. Wildcard out of the house and pushing hard. 2 teams left. They know that they have the numbers. They're going to come around the outside. The jump shot to end the match. And that will be it. Wildcard Gaming picked the right compound, got the right circles, and executed perfectly when it came for time to actually take the fight. And you know what? They got the kills to prove and pay the bills. That's 10 kills for that team. Not too shabby.
Look at Space Station though. They're a team that we have kind of been harping on, to be honest, for the past couple of weeks as really underperforming compared to what they were when they were known as Pecadores. But here they come out now. They are running, they are fighting, and they took, how many is this? 16 kills in a second place finish. That is a great performance and definitely a step above what they've been given in recent memory. That being said, they're in a 3rd place, so this actually isn't very off-brand, at least in the finals here.
Yep, so the scoreboards look good as we wait for the follow-up update and we get ready for game 3. That'll be all that you get for this match. From myself, Toffees, I'm joined by Cameron and, of course, our Eye in the Sky Skyline. And before we get to match 3, I'm going to turn it over to our analyst panel so they can talk a little bit more about what we saw. Mustache Dave and Esquire, take it away.
Dave, what a match. What a match. Game number 2 evening is in the books.